Good morning, everyone. Thank God it's Friday, and thank you for joining us on the program. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Let's begin with a very important notice. Your favorite anchor on this morning, the veteran Yori fondly called Uncle Yori, will be back on Monday, 25th January. I believe that's next Monday. So it's been on vacation for close to a month now. I'm persuaded he's well rested and is returning bigger and better. So tell everyone, it's a must-watch show on Monday, and we'll be talking about that in the course of the show. This morning, we're turning our attention to Ondo State, where it appears there's been some form of bickering between the presidency and the Ondo State governor over his vacation order to headers in that part of the country. And if you are cognizant with the news, you will know that Ondo has been on the news for all of the wrong reasons, from armed robbery to kidnappings, abduction, killings, and the rest. This particular challenge of insecurity has been here for a long time. Some 5 years ago, Olufalaye, former secretary to the government of the Federation, was abducted. We're told that even with the involvement of security agencies, he had to pay some money to his abductors. In 2019, thereabout, I think in July, it was Olufunke Olakunrin, daughter of Pa Reuben Fasoranti, who was killed on the Biniore Road. We're told that that particular corridor has been notorious for attacks by suspected headsmen. Now, there's a lot of talks about the legality of the governor's order, asking headers to vacate the forest reserve in the state. According to the presidency, we've heard from Gaduwa, we believe is speaking for Mr. President. He's saying that Mr. Governor should know better, as a lawyer, as a senior advocate of Nigeria and former chairman of the NBA, that every Nigerian has a right to live and do business in any part of the country. However, others are saying that particular right is not absolute, that the governor also has a duty to secure the lives and property of people in his state. After all, the government forest reserve is a state government asset. So there's a lot of back and forth as regards this. The presidency is saying that the issue of criminality, it's important that we delink terrorism and criminality from a particular area or a particular people or a particular religion. However, isn't that what the governor is doing by asking that they leave the forest reserve, register before the return? Now, we're going to bring all of this to bear. We expect to be joined by a senior advisor to the Ogun State government, governor on agriculture, who will be joining us live from Akure, and quite a number of other stakeholders will also be joining us. But our correspondent, Ayodeji Moradi, has been following this development, a very troubling one, and we'll begin with this report.
The directive of Ondo State herdsmen Rotimi Akeredolu to others who are not registered in the state to vacate government forest reserves has continued to generate reaction. The decision propelled some groups in Ondo State to drum support for the governor's tall order to herdsmen. This was demonstrated through these protests by commercial drivers, forest guards and farmers who marched to the governor's office in Akure. The protesters said rising cases of kidnapping has reached an alarming rate. These protesters say they will continue to support government's decision to ensure that their lives and property are secured.
When they make our forest reserve, which is supposed to be a resource base and ecological base to the state, and make it a threat and have created fear.
A lot of people now have decided to enter into the forest reserve without proper permission. That has led to a lot of things that is happening in the forest reserve. Last year, our life is being threatened as a worker. 2 of our members were kidnapped. 2 of the members were kidnapped.
He's protecting his people. It is his duty to protect the people of Ondo State. He is voted to protect us, and we are behind him.
Farmers in Ondo State express our unflinching support to the order that the governor gave, calling on all herdsmen to vacate all forest reserved areas in the state.
Traditional rulers also threw their weight behind Governor Akeredolu's directive. While briefing journalists at the end of an emergency meeting in Akure, The monarchs called on President Muhammadu Buhari to show the world that he is the father of all, irrespective of ethnic affiliation.
Sustain peace and security in the state. The pronouncement that the government has made is at the benefits of all the citizens of this state.
We condemn in totality the deliberate attempts by some persons to twist the governor's clear directive.
Expiration of the notice given to the others to vacate the forest. It was hoped that the issue would be resolved peacefully. Akeredolu Moradi, TVC News, Akure.
Well, just to add that a first-class monarch was also killed in a failed abduction attempt sometime last year in that part of the country. I'm joined by communications expert Hassan Abdulaziz Sani, who is my guest right here in the studio. Good morning and thank you for coming.
Good morning. Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians.
Let us begin by understanding your opinion as regards this continued debate concerning the governor's order. So here's a governor who is challenged with a lot of insecurity reports within his domain and is now asked that herders vacate the forest reserve. We're told that that particular place has been notorious, you know, and has always been constant in the testimonies of victims of abduction in Ondo. How do you react to this development?
Yeah. Security is a national problem. It's not something that, unless we are out to be biased, and I don't think biasness will help us in this kind of a situation, because we can see the threat all over. First in the northeast, in the northwest, south-south. Now it's creeping in to the southwest. And we should stop looking at it as a segmental issue. No, no. It's a problem of all. And all hands must be on deck to fight it. Look, what is very clear here? My sympathy, first of all, goes to the governor of Ondo State, because he wore the shoes and he knows where it pinches. Here is a governor that doubled as chief security officer, faced with problem of abduction. What is very clear to all of us here, Ondo State is a gateway. It's a gateway state to southwest, to north central, and to the south-south. You can imagine traffic along that axis. And bandits knew nothing about sentiment. They kidnap anybody. What they are after is what they will make out of it, which is to the detrimental of all. Let us be very, very frank here. Based on what Garba Shehu said, you see, this is the second time Garba Shehu is making a blunder of himself. As a professional, making a blunder of himself. When farmers were beheaded in Borno, he came out that they did not take permission. Do you need a permission to go to your office? Do you need a permission as a businessman to go to the market? Do you need a permission as a farmer to go to your farm? That was the beginning of him. And now, he's now saying something that instead of him to make a constructive argument over it, we knew very well, we have these people that are wreaking havoc all over the place are very, very few. In the midst of very, very good Fulani people, in the midst of promising Fulani people. Let me take all the memorial in here. General Muhammadu Buhari, our president, is a Fulani man. And he was voted by Nigerians because of what? Because of his integrity. He was voted for the first time, and he was voted again for the second time to be our president. So the issue of trying to bring tribalism into it does not even arise. People saw good things in Fulani people. People know that people that are doing this are very few that are out to smear the image of the Fulanis. There are wonderful Fulani men doing wonderful things all over the place. So we should not misconstrue it as a war against the Fulanis, no. Fighting against this is this. We should see it as a national call to fight insecurity in our midst. Injustice to one is an injustice to all. So we should stop this primordial sentiment. For people from a very side to come and be saying something, for people from PDP side to be saying another thing, it's not helping matters. When these people come to the road, they don't want to know where you come from. What they are after is their own selfish interest, which is to kill, to maim, and to take money. And we saw it all over the place. But what is very clear here, Miyetti Allah has a serious challenge before it. They should fish out the bad eggs that are giving Fulanis the bad names in Nigeria. We should all come together and do it. A Fulani man rears cows. He rears cows. But who are the dominant consumers of these cows? The Southerners are the real consumers. So on one side, somebody is working here, the other one also is also consuming. So we all need each other to live as a country.
Absolutely. Gabriel Shew's position has been that of the fact that we should not allow a few criminal elements, like you've mentioned, to define the entirety of a region or of a people or a particular religion. But I want us to get down to the details of the governor's order. According to what we've read, the idea is to formally register the headers in that state. They're saying vacate these reserves and come and register your business so that we can identify those who legitimately do this business, differentiate them from these very few criminal minds. Isn't that a way to go?
It's a way to go to some extent. The best way to go is to go it through Miyetti Allah. Miyetti Allah are on the ground. They knew who comes and who left. It's not a matter of registering, no. People move around. We are all Nigerians. We can move around from one location to the other. No problem about that. There's no problem. Nobody can stop you. But the people that know people, the movement of the people are the Miyetti. Government are not in a position to do that. The whole challenge, the whole box, stop on the table of Miyetti Allah.
Why do you think that has been difficult? Because we have also reported a couple of engagements, among stakeholders, including Miyetti Allah that you've mentioned.
You know what? There's a policies going on within the Miyetti Allah. You understand? And it's a national problem. In Nigeria generally, we don't have this culture of reporting criminals in our midst. We don't have that culture. We don't like to break the ice. And some people have their reasons for doing that. At times, when you report a criminal in your midst, a police you reported to will expose you to the criminal. And your life will come under what? Under serious threat. And secondly, even the society, we are not doing it. We need to kind of reorient ourselves about this security matter that as a business of all. That look, when you see something, say something. That's the best way to go. And the only way government can achieve this is through Miyetti Allah. And for the Miyetti Allah to be up and doing and to be sincere in their approach to this issue, everything will be the thing of the past. In the northwest, in the southwest, and all over Nigeria where we have this threat of banditry, of these herdsmen and farmers and what have you.
The relationship between Fulani headsmen and, the farming community, especially in the Southwest, hasn't been this frosty. I mean, growing up, I remember that it's more of a symbiotic relationship. There used to be a peaceful, very peaceful relationship. They even give milk to the community members. What do you think happened along the way?
Look, you see, what really happened is this. Some criminals among the Fulanis intruded the Fulanis and are doing whatsoever they like. You understand? It's the same thing all over. If you go to the Northwest, the indigenous Fulanis, look, I was backed by a Fulani woman when I was a Akeredolu. You understand? A woman will walk 5 kilometers to bring us milk, me and my twin brother, to drink. Can I look at her and say she's a bad woman? No, she's a good woman. She's a mother. But when you begin to see criminal elements, coming in to wreak havoc, we should all come out in unison and talk about it. It has been long. You see, the issue is what you are seeing now is this. This thing is just a new thing in the Southwest. It has been there in the South, in the Northwest for a very long time. And those ones that are wreaking those havoc, they are not even indigenous Fulanis. They come once in a while, wreak havoc, destroy everything, eat up crops, and kill. You understand? But that one did not make people to see the Fulanis that are living together with the people as part of themselves. No. They were able to differentiate between the grains and the chaff. I don't see anything wrong in what Governor Akeredolu did. He's the governor. Many people were kidnapped along that axis. Many travelers were kidnapped along that axis. The prominent among them, Akeredolu Falais, he was kidnapped on his farm. Olakuri was killed. These people were caught. And they now saw that some of these guys are Fulanis. One Oba recently, he was abducted and killed. And many, many more travelers were killed that went unnoticed. So what are we talking about? It's a national problem.
Part of this new policy from the Ondo State government is to stop underage herding, a situation where you see 7-, 8-year-old boys, directing the cattle on the road and all of that. They also mentioned the need to stop this grazing at night, which appears to be the time of the day when most of these criminalities, take place. How do you think that the herders will be willing to adjust to this new rule?
You see, it's not a matter of adjustment. It's a matter of necessity. When there's a problem, you don't seek for the second opinion again. You go straight to treat the problem. After you treat the problem, you can come back now and review it. It cannot be forever. Saying that a child of 7 years old, this and that, you understand, is much more of looking at it from the age angle. You don't look at it from that angle. The boy is helping his parents out. Everybody knew that that boy is not the owner. He's just helping his parents out of it. You understand? In Lagos here, you see small children on the road hawking for their parents. You understand? So you cannot go for them. The most important thing you do is to engage people. Engage them. Talk to them. You understand? Let them see reasons. It's like this hawking in Lagos. You cannot do so by just arresting children along the road. When you arrest, you are arresting a minor. You cannot convict a minor. You understand? It is against the law for you to do that. Walk through the parents. Walk through the communities. Let them see reason why this kind of a thing should not be the norm. That's all.
Let's talk about the position of the presidency in all of this. Earlier on, you mentioned Garba Shewu's statement as a blunder. Garba Shewu, in my opinion, is speaking for the president.
You know what? A lot of people spoke for themselves. They don't speak for the president. They spoke for themselves. The same thing with the security you see in Nigeria. The same thing. I said it here before. I said, look, a lot of people are much more concerned about protecting their seats than protecting the national interest. Governor Akeredolu is an APC governor. General Muhammad Buhari is an APC president. Why not have a synergy? I don't see Buhari saying this against a governor they belong to the same political party with.
But this is not a fresh statement. I mean, someone who speaks for the president says something that the president doesn't agree with. You don't think that the president will then speak for himself and dissociate himself from that position?
You know what? Our president is much more a silent president. I want you to understand that. He doesn't talk freely like that. You understand? He talks occasionally. You understand? I'm not here to hold brief for him. I'm talking based on my own personal observation of him. I don't need to come closer to you and say something about you. No. Let me just observe you. Talk, write. I will say something about you.
What is the implication of this very sharply different position between the Ondo State government and the senior special advisor to the president on media publicity? What impact do you see it have on the current security situation?
It gave rise to the whole thing to become messy. And you allow every Jack and Harry to have a say. You understand? Yeah. Every morning, I wake up every morning with this newspaper review by AIT, you know, coming down to NTA, coming down to TVC and co. I saw people that came on board to talk about it. People are expressing their own selfish interest about it. You understand? They are making derogatory statements about people, rubbishing people. You understand? A system, a governmental system should not create room for that. There should be a kind of interface between presidency and state governors.
After all, they belong to the same political
party. They belong to the same party. Even if you belong to PDP, there should be that kind of communication door, interface between you and the president. Not for you to allow people that are just struggling to retain their seats, you understand, to talk. Remember, Garba Shehu was formerly a spokesman to Atiku Abubakar. You know, we are very good in ignoring history. And history is there for us to be guided. You understand? Get to know the history, where they're coming from. He did that for Atiku before General Muhammad Buhari co-opted him into his government. And we can see the difference. People expressing themselves, not really expressing the government.
It's all right. Let's talk about nomadic farming. I understand the cultural significance and the fact that it is the way of life of a particular people. Okay, I'm going to get back to you, but let's quickly turn our attention now to Akure, where I believe we have the special assistant to the governor on agriculture joining us via Skype for more on development. Akeredolu, good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so let's precisely what is happening concerning this ultimatum given by the state governor. Has there been any engagement between the Ondo State government and the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breed Association, for instance, before giving this order?
Well, we've met severally with their state executives. And even almost 2 years ago, Mr. Governor invited the national leadership of Miyetti Allah. Their national president was here, their national secretary was here, the entire national executive of Miyetti Allah, they were in Ondo State for 3 days. The governor personally met with them, with the leadership of Miyetti Allah in the 18 local government of the state. The meeting was held in Koko for 3 days. And in the meeting, a lot of decisions. One was underage grazing was prescribed, prohibited. Set up a committee that will be tracking the criminal elements in their midst in the state. And all through, instead of the problem abating, it was escalating. You will agree with me that a couple of weeks ago, a first-class traditional ruler was killed. It's 11 o'clock. We are all aware of the fact that, apart from that, a lot of killings are taking place in the state. Drivers can no longer move on the street. Farmers can no longer go to their farm. Women can no longer move from one location to another in the rural areas.
We understand the security situation in Ondo, Mr. Lutu, but I just need a bit more clarification as regards the governor's order. So we are told that headers are to vacate.
Let me tell you today.
Just a minute, Mr. Lutu.
The document I am displaying.
Okay.
Hello. The document I'm displaying is the list of registered farmers of state forest reserve. Duly, we have indigents of Akure, indigents of TVs, Igalas, everybody that you can think of in this country. Particular forest reserve, we have about 14. We have a representative of groups in this country operating within the allowed confinement within the forest area. The only ethnic group or nationality that has Fulani headsmen.
Why is that so? Just a minute, Mr. Lutu. Why is that so? Because I've also read a couple of your statements where you mentioned that close to 50,000 farmers are registered in that document you're holding. But why has this registration process been on for years and no header, a Fulani header as you have claimed, has registered or been part of that process?
Let me put it this way. People are saying that Nigerians are free to whatever in anywhere. Agree, and the state government has that understanding too. But when you are using your business to destroy other people's business, I think there should be a limitation, and the law must come to play in that regard. It is simply, if you the question you answer is because these people felt they are above the law. It's because they felt they have connection in Nassau Rock.
Just a minute, Mr. Olutu.
That is what Sheikh Gaba has done by coming out to say that the way he interpreted what
Mr. Olutu, just a minute.
What Mr. Governor
Let me jump in very quickly. We're going to have enough time to hear you out, but I also want you to just clarify, because you mentioned earlier on that you've had a couple of meetings with members of the Miyetti Allah. Did they mention to you that they are above the law and that is why they have refused to register? Did that come up in the meetings you had with them? Precisely what did they say as regards this?
They did not say they are above the law, but their action implies that. That is what their action implies. And let me tell you this, I'm on national television. the PRO of Miyetti Allah in Ondo State, although the case is still in court, is one of those people that was apprehended in the case of the
Mr.
murder
Lotu,
of
let me hold you very briefly
daughter.
to work on this connection. We'll take a break now and we'll return for more discussion on this particular subject. Stay with us. And thanks for staying with us. Hazard Abdulaziz Sani, communications professional, is my guest here in Lagos. Thank you for staying the course on the program this morning.
Thank you.
Akeredolu is senior special advisor to the Ondo State Governor on agriculture and is joining us via Skype. Well, I want us to just say it as simple as it is. We made attempts to have representatives of Miyetti Allah on this program. Unfortunately, that wasn't successful. I'm sure that we're also going to bring them on board subsequently. But Mr. Lotu, you have had meetings with them. You mentioned earlier several meetings. When will this ultimatum expire, and what is their reaction to the governor's order?
Well, for now, there is no organized reaction, apart from the fact that some that are law-abiding, some that have been here for years, are willing to cooperate with the government directive. And that is what I could say as regards compliance so far. But let me add this. You know that the assault on the northeastern part of this country today is being launched from Sambisa Forest. We are equally aware of what is going on in Zamfara Forest. Are we not? Is common sense not telling us, with the revelation so far, that the same forest reserve of Ondo State will be used to launch attack on the good people of this state? And when we are talking about people in Ondo State, we are not talking about the Yorubas alone. We have Igbos here, we have TVs here, we have Ijos here, we have Fulanis here that are doing legitimate businesses here and there. So what Mr. Governor has done is a way, and I think it should be commended. It's a way of
because of time, Mr.
preventing.
Olutu, let us talk about the legality of Mr. Governor's order. In some other states, we've heard about the anti-grazing law. But in this particular case, we heard that the governor is relying on a law, a cattle trade law, as far back as 1969. Can you clear the air on this?
It has been there for years from what you've seen. And I believe the problem has been that of enforcement. We don't enforce laws and order in this country. And precisely when you have a problem that is crystallizing, that is snowballing into a crisis of a dimension which is not going to be palatable to anyone, the best thing that has to be done by any responsible and responsive government is to look at the appropriate law in place and implement it. The law is to protect everyone. It's not just for the protection of the Yorubas or the Igbos or it's for all of us. So enforcement is what we need. And let's have this at the back of our mind. Forest reserve, nobody, either you are a Yoruba person or Hausa or Igbo, whatever it might be, or a white, you cannot go to the forest reserve anyhow to do whatever you like there. It must be with government permission. So, but when people are now saying that this is where we are going to use as our abode, people that are victims that were debriefed after they were released, what we have heard from all of them is that it's the same form of report that their kidnappers are of Fulani extract.
Okay,
the position of the state
you mentioned earlier, you particularly mentioned earlier about the arrest of the Miyetti Allah PRO.
Yes, that is Adamu.
Arrested on what charges?
The murder of Shifashoron's daughter.
Okay, that case is in court, so we can't really touch on it right now. We can't talk about it on television. But quickly, How does the Ondo State government intend to enforce this vacation order without
We have forest.
without inspiring another dimension of violence?
I don't foresee any form of violence. Mr.
We probably will work on that
President,
connection.
that is President Muhammadu Buhari, is a no. Mr. President is law-abiding. He will not encourage anybody to live outside the law or to flout the laws of this country. And that is why I am 100% sure that the law must take its course. Why? Because as the chief executive of the state, Mr. Governor has a duty, the foremost duty of protecting life and property of people in the state. And when this is being threatened, he will not encourage jungle justice. Whoever is apprehended in the forest will be made to face.
Indeed, Mr. Lotu,
law.
you mentioned the president, and
Yeah.
it does appear that the position of the presidency is outrightly against the governor's order. If we go by what Garba Shehu mentioned in his statement, we expect that, given the fact that both the governor and the president belong to the same political party, there will be some more engagement in this regard. Is that ongoing?
Well, I know Mr. President and the governor of the state are in good terms. I know they are talking, and I know they will continue to talk. I know a lot of consultations are going on here and there. I believe there is. Garba Shehu did not exercise patience enough to read through what Mr. Governor said. Mr. Governor did not say Fulani should leave the state. He's a lawyer, a senior advocate of Nigeria, and former president of Nigeria Bar Association of Nigeria. He's a completely detribalized Nigerian, and is someone that is very accommodating. And I'm sure of this, that all that was written, if Shehu Garba took the pain to read through what Mr. Governor said, he will agree with us that what Mr. Governor did is the right thing to do.
Please hold on, Mr. Lotu, for a minute. We'll be back with you shortly. Let's open the phone lines for our viewers to also contribute. Ade has called in from London. Ade, this is a television program guided by rules and regulations of the NBC. So we would advise you to be guided. Go ahead with your contribution, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay. I want to thank the man in the studio with you. It's a very, very true Nigerian. I go along with what he said by telling you the biography of Shehu Garba Shehu or whatever. If you watch American President Joe Biden, he make a law in America for people to wear masks, but say his power is only on federal properties. That is the most powerful man in the world. Federal properties only. He has no power on state. Why should a president of Nigeria be interested in local forests of his state, in a local government? Is that a federal unit? I mean, I don't know how people are thinking in Nigeria. What's the business of a presidency in a forest of a state in Nigeria? He has no power. Who is Garba Shehu? The government is being lenient with them. If you leave it to the traditional people, if they go in the forest, thunder will rise like he rise in Ondo State last time. He killed all
right, Ade. Thank you very much for your contribution. Let me get back to the studio very quickly. What's the way forward in all of this, given your experience with how this has panned out?
Is for Mieti Allah to be up and doing. To be up and doing, not only in Ondo State, in the whole of the country, to fish out the criminal elements that are smearing the names of the Fulanis. That's number one. Number two, our intelligence agencies should beef up and do the needful. We are tired of this a kind of campaign after election. We want them to be proactive, to be preventive. We are tired of registering casualties. We are tired of paying ransom from Zamfara, Katsina, to any other state, to Ondo State, to anywhere in Nigeria.
Absolutely. Let's quickly wrap this up. Mr. Olotu, we have to go now. You didn't answer. I asked earlier when the ultimatum will expire. And very quickly, I also want you to clarify. You mentioned that the governor is not asking herders to leave the state. Are you saying that once the herders register, they will be allowed back to the forest reserves?
Well, the ultimatum expires on Sunday. I think about 3 days
from now
to this time. But beyond that, beyond enforcement, I believe this is a national problem. Let me give this piece of advice. Nigeria is number 7 when you look at the number of, you look at the population of cattle in each country. Now, Nigeria is number 7 in Africa. We have no position in the world. But when you look at number 1 to 6, there is nowhere where you have animals, where you have cattle being taken in this country. The present normal is a lose-lose approach. It's not in the interest of anybody. It's not in the interest of the herders. It's not in the interest of the cattle. It's not in the interest of the nation. I will explain. The herders, when are they going to have settled life? When are they going to send their children to school? When they move from one jungle to another. When they wake up in the morning, they face the forest. They are living with reptiles. How are they not going to be aggressive when they see maybe the opposite sex? You have testimony of farmers in the state yesterday. One of our rice farmers' wife was killed in Ogbese. Another one, the hand was cut. The animal itself, the food they take, when are they going to convert it? How are they going to convert it judiciously to meat and milk?
We have to continue this conversation some other time. I'm afraid we have to go now. Mr. Akeredolu is Senior Special Assistant to the Ondo State Governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, on agriculture. Thank you for your thoughts on the program this morning. Here in the studio, I have Hassan Abdulaziz Sani, a communications expert. Thank you so much for coming this morning. All right, so the Kogi State Governor is in the news again. This time he's asking people not to take the COVID-19 vaccine. According to him, how come they've not gotten vaccines for illnesses like cancer, malaria, and the rest, and they got the COVID-19 vaccine within a year? We'll be talking about that after this break. Stay with us. Public expert Pascal Chidede joins me again on the program this morning. So the Nigeria Governors Forum has reacted, dissociating itself from the position of the Kogi State Governor. I know we talked about it some days ago, about the fact that there has been a lot of talks, a lot of conspiracy theories about these vaccines and how it will affect. In fact, the governor made reference to the issue of polio vaccines in Kano. What are your thoughts about this?
We recognize that there will be plurality of opinions. And that's part of our democratic culture, that views will be different. But it all comes to science. And I'm glad that his colleagues in the Governors Forum also have expressed their position. And I would urge that we are inclined to that opinion, because I've had persons very close to me who have taken the vaccines. Both there are 2 aspects of the vaccine. You take the first one, and after 4 weeks, you take another one. And those people are still alive. And we've been talking, we've been relating. So I recognize that everybody will not think or act the same way. But it's important to also dimension the issues around this conspiracy theory. Several things were said by different individuals before now that this is mark of the Antichrist, or there are still measures being taken to eliminate certain populations. We will always have views of that may not be scientifically or empirically proven. So I think we would, this research position is, let's significantly align with what science says here.
Absolutely. When you talk about what science says, vaccines typically take at least a decade to develop, to test, and to manufacture. That's according to scientists.
Yes.
It took 18 years for scientists to successfully develop a vaccine against polio. Now, what we are hearing about this is that there's been a breakthrough in science, what they call perhaps the RNA, as against a genetically produced vaccine as against the protein one. You don't think that the only way to assuage all of this is via science? For instance, NAFDAC mentioned some days earlier that hospitals shouldn't bring in vaccines. Vaccines should pass through NAFDAC. There should be a system where, yes, there should be a system where Nigeria scientifically also proves to its citizen that these vaccines are safe. Do you agree?
Many countries have clinically tried the vaccine, and as we speak, over 50 countries have administered the vaccine on its citizens. Again, we also need to look at the decade-long period of developing a vaccine. Vis-a-vis
Are you saying we should trust what these countries have done?
Yes, because
without going through our own process of trying
for Nigeria, for sake of sovereignty, for sake of national ego, it may be imperative to say, okay, let's test, let's clinically verify. But the programs we have seen from the Nigeria Governors Forum, the Presidential Task Force, all of them point to the fact that they are going to work with what has originally already been proven in other climes.
Certified by the WHO.
Yes, WHO. So I think, again, there are vaccines that may be for epidemics. Epidemic is when...
Only until recently, the United States moved away from the WHO. I'm trying to help you see that logically...
And they're back anyway.
Yes, they are back under Biden. That's just about 1 or 2 days old.
Yes.
I'm saying logically, there are platforms to debate the efficiency of a new vaccine. And the only way to assuage that position is science.
And I want to fundamentally emphasize,
locally based.
Existential threat is the issue here. There are some sicknesses that may affect limited number of the population. There are sicknesses that have a long gestation period. The peculiarity of COVID-19, especially this variant, is that it can take away life in less than 2 weeks, sometimes 7 days. And the whole world has been on lockdown, which has not happened perhaps since 1918 to 1919. So society, globally, scientists and everybody, every stakeholder saw that we had a very serious enemy and we needed to contain it. And does this suggest that that does not mean that the vaccine is 100%? In some of the vaccines can have 75% efficacy, some have 95%. But it is worse not to have anything in the short run. And like it has been cited in many publications, this vaccine may not be the last version of it. There will be further improvement. But this is a way to begin to tame this virus. Otherwise, mankind is under existential threat.
Absolutely. There's a lot to talk about, but unfortunately, again, we have to go. There will be another day to talk more about this. Pascal Chunene is Executive Director, Health Emergency Initiative. Thank you so much for your time on this program.
It's my pleasure.
So the federal government says 100,000 doses of this vaccine, of the Pfizer vaccine, are expected by the end of January. Some health experts say it will be practically impossible to have Nigerians have jabs by the end of this month. We'll see how all of this go and the processes that are in place to also verify the efficacy of these vaccines. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. Uncle Yeri will be back on Monday, so keep your TVs on. It will be very refreshing. Thank you for being a part of the show with me, and this is why I say goodbye. See you again.